네, 지금부터는 HSBC의 글로벌 오토메이션 CO의 총괄 책임자이신 마누 어거스틴 씨의 사례 발표가 있겠습니다. 저희가 이 사례를 소개해 드리는 이유는 HSBC에서는 이미 1000개 이상의 디지털 워커를 운영하면서 겪었던 수많은 경험들이 있었습니다. 여기서 블루프리즘의 한 개의 디지털 워커는 여러 개의 소프트웨어 로봇을 의미합니다. 그렇기 때문에 현재 HSBC에서는 1000개 이상의 디지털 워커를 운영을 하고 있고, 이 의미는 수천 개의 소프트웨어 로봇을 운영하고 있다는 의미입니다. 오늘의 주제가 RPA의 성장을 위해서는 놓치면 안 되는 6가지이고요. 저희가 이 주제를 선정하게 된 배경이 사실은 이 마구 어거스틴 님의 발표에서부터 비롯되어 있습니다. 예. 저희가 이해를 돕기 위해서 이 6가지의 공통점들을 이 화면의 우측 상단에 표시를 해 두었습니다. 그리고 한글 자막도 모두 다 입혀놨기 때문에 약 15분 정도의 발표이지만 워낙 중요한 경험들이 많이 공유가 되기 때문에 끝까지 경청하여 주시면 감사하겠습니다.
Good morning, good day. My name is Manu Augustin. I head the Automation Center of Excellence for HSBC Global Operations. So it's a role that enables me to, influence, help, and deliver automations within HSBC Group across our various locations and ecosystems. Even at that point, we were significantly different from what HSBC is today in the automation journey. We had about 200 RPA bots in 2017. Today we have 1,000 plus. I've left it at 1,000 and just added a plus just to kind of keep it at a number that's easy to articulate, but significantly different from where we are in 2017. The 1,000 plus Blue Prism RPA bots in production today. But I think the important part of that 200 to the 1,000 journey is really also about the kind of automations that we were doing in 2017. A lot of that was really at automating manual tasks, what I call task automation, to where we are today, which is solutions which have multiple components, including RPA and a number of other solutions in the intelligent automation space, which I will come to later. But it was necessary for us to move from that space that we were in 2017, because while we did the simple stuff, we also learned quite a bit, not just about the technology and how to use the technology, but also on the operating model and what works. We experimented with various models. We had IT delivered, we had vendor delivery, we had a mix of both. We are today largely, loosely called in that citizen development space, where operations, business users, SMEs who really understand their processes, they are the ones who have been trained to do automations using the configuration, low code, no code kind of platforms that tools like Blue Prism and other platforms provide, and do their own automations, but within a very rigorous, controlled guardrail, if I may call it that, because we are a bank. We need to be, one of the key elements of what we do is the reliability, safety of both our customers' data and of all of the processes that we continuously run. So while we have embraced the concept of citizen development and moved from TERI into this space, we also have very rigorous processes and toll gates and control frameworks that enable us to do this safely. And that's the space that we are in today. So that's about the move from 2017 to today in terms of the volume of the bot estate. But if you then go back, go to the point on the right, which says 500 plus processes automated, I think that also tells a story. 500 plus is a kind of a revolving number. So if I look at last year's automation, and there were, let's say, 460 odd automations, and now we've come to 500. 20 million on your left, the point on the left side, and the 0.2, I think is a hugely significant number. That's the volume of transactions that bots will process this year. We were close to 20, or I think just about 20 million last year as well. So, like I said, there are processes that go out of that automation estate for various reasons, including moving on to more strategic platforms. But there are stuff that comes in. But 20 million in any context or in any kind of scenario is massive. So what it means is that we have really embraced automation, RPA, digitization, and it also means that when you're handling these kind of volumes, we have to be really careful about the structures, the processes, what we bring in, what we do not bring in, what we allow, etc. So I would think if I were to compare our organization to organizations probably in the non-banking space, there could be some areas where we have decided not to do some kind of scenarios in terms of automation. We might do it tomorrow, but we haven't yet got to that stage where we're comfortable doing it today. Again, because just because of the nature of the business that we are in, and the requirement to be really, really clear about the security, safety, the reliability of what we do, right? And at volumes of this scale, we really need to be able to do it on a consistent basis. So all of this, I think, is really about the evolution of how we moved from where we are into where we are today. I think it's also a good time to kind of just make a connection to HSBC's strategy as a whole, which is out there in the public domain. And there's one specific pillar of the strategy which is called digitize at scale. It's very closely connected to what we're doing here and what we're talking about here, right? I mean, digitize at scale is really about I think four components: digitizing or developing really easy digital experiences for both staff as well as for the customers, driving innovation and automation at scale, building scalable or replicable solutions so that you design once and are able to reuse it, maybe with a little bit of tinkering here and there, but you don't design every time you need to you go to a new market for a similar kind of process or a similar kind of use case. And the last one is, like I touched upon a couple of times previously, making sure that the digitization at scale also improves our overall control environment and control framework, right? So we are a much safer place to work with, a much safer place for our customers and colleagues. So if you go to the right side, the second point, I'm talking about the replication projects, which I spoke about just now in terms of digitize at scale strategy. We actually actively track this, So as an automation CoE, we are very closely involved in the automation book of work across the bank. We look at what comes into the book of work, and there is the obvious discovery and the assessment process to see whether it's the right thing to do and stuff like that. But we also track, and we have a target onto how much can we replicate every year. Just now we are in the middle of June or the end of June, and we are at 15% replication. So what it means is that 15% of our book of work as of today this year are replicable or replication reusable kind of projects. And that's not just RPA, that's it could be designing a workflow that let's say is applicable to a mortgage servicing process for one market, but because you've invested time up front in the design process, that first design is really applicable to a bunch of multiple markets, maybe in a regional context, maybe globally as well. I mean, it's not as easy as it sounds to replicate, right? And because it implies that there is a level of standardization that markets have to adopt. But there are components or elements of every design that you can actually build while designing that enable you to do a large percentage of replication, even where there is a serious amount of variation in the process. And then I also want to in the same example of that replication, because replication is all about speed, right? I just want to touch upon the COVID context. You will see that we've spoken about 60 plus COVID related automations. Actually, I think I stopped counting after 60, so it's probably a lot more. But during that whole COVID period, one thing that definitely happened was, we had a lot of surprises in terms of new products that needed to be rolled out at the drop of a hat, right? I mean, government interventions, relief measures. The example that I put in here is capital repayment holiday in a market. I mean, many of you will be aware of this, right? A lot of governments enabled the repayments to be either stopped for a particular period. So it was a holiday. And this was a very specific, I think, business product where the capital repayment holiday had to kick in, but customers had to make an application for that to kick in. And this was nothing, I mean, this was not a product feature till that point in time, right? It was a result of a government relief measure. And that meant that all of a sudden, we had to expect massive amount of volumes coming in through applications from our customers that we then had to process. And that's when we got in the RPA, bought Speedy Gonzalez for two reasons. It's called Speedy Gonzalez for two reasons. One is because it was a very efficient automation in terms of how it was handling the input. But I think the space that I'm really kicked about is that we got it working in about 3 weeks, right from design to testing and getting it live for our customers. And that was really quick, probably quicker than we've ever managed to do RPA previously. What it implies is that we had learned from all of the reuse of objects or replication, etc. And importantly, taking a little bit more extra time to do that design so that our best folks could come in and implement at speed and get it out there for the customers. So topic that I wanted to cover, which is about the intelligent automation operating model that we brought into place within HSBC. And this has also evolved, but we think we've settled on what really works for us now. So I call it blocks in the chain. And the reason I call it blocks in the chain are while they look like independent elements, they are also connected, that it works only when they work together like a chain works when all the linkages are working well. So what are those broad blocks? You have the automation center of excellence, which is the area that I head. You have automation delivery and you have automation BAU. Now within the automation CoE, we have two components. One is the product function and the other one is the traditional CoE, which is all about standards, governance, training, methodology, templates, frameworks, etc. So I won't touch upon standards and governance in that part because that is, I think, fairly well understood. The product function we brought into the CoE about 2 years ago. And the reason we brought that in is because especially with all of the non-IT delivered, low code, no code kind of tooling that is coming in, including, what we're doing with Blue Prism, RPA, etc. We decided, or we felt that there was a need to bring in a technology view that had a strong, influence from business. So we call it functional product ownership as opposed to technical or IT product ownership. So we have product managers sitting in the product function for different capabilities. For example, we have a product manager for RPA and attended automation. We have a product manager for intelligent document processing, somebody for data, etc. And they probably have counterparts in the IT space as well. But what it has allowed us to do is to bring in that context of and look at what the market is doing, what others are doing, assess other products, look at our existing products, influence the functionality roadmap a lot better than we would have been able to do if this was completely something that was blind or invisible to us. So that's the automation CoE. In the center, we have the automation delivery teams. So there's the digital operation centers. We have 4 of them across across the globe in 4 different parts of the geography today. And these teams are the ones that have the mentoring capability, the management capability for all of our configurators. They also have small configuration or configurator pools of people to kind of step in and do very urgent stuff. But typically, most of our configurators, like I mentioned previously, sit within the businesses, sit within the operations. So the digital operations centers facilitate, all the projects through the mentoring, etc., to help them keep on track and remove roadblocks where there are blocks. And then there's the automation solutions leads, which are really the team of people who understand our entire portfolio of products. They look at problem areas, they create the book of work, they are the relationship management team, and then they kind of work as the glue between operations, business, the automation CoE, the actual delivery, etc. And on the right side, you have automation BAU, which is, so what happens when an automation is live and it's working? So there is all the management of automation that needs to happen, including what I spoke about in the last slide around, KPI tracking, making interventions when KPIs are not met, transitioning automations to demise or because, strategic solutions have come in, etc. So that's the operating model that we have in place today.
예. HSBC의 사례 발표를 잘 보셨는지요? 1000개 이상의 디지털 워커를 운영하는 기업이 어떤 고민들을 하고 있고 어떤 경험을 했는지가 좋은 참고가 되셨으면 하는 바람입니다.